Are you wondering how to get started with points and miles if you're a young adult with little to no credit history? Or maybe you have kids that you'd like to help get started? Keep listening as we dive into some tips for young adults who want to turn their travel dreams into reality with the help of credit card points and miles. Welcome to Points Talk with the Travel Mom Squad. We are three moms who've discovered how to leverage credit card welcome offers to get hundreds of thousands of dollars of travel expenses for nearly free. We've used credit card points and miles to take vacations to places like Hawaii, Paris, Greece, Maldives, Japan, and so much more. And the best part, we each still have 800 plus credit scores. Imagine being able to take the vacation of your dreams for nearly free. It's totally possible, and we're here to show you how. Hey, I'm Alex.
And I'm Jess. Let's talk points. Today, we have a very special guest joining us. My stepdaughter, Ella, is here to talk all about how she got started in the world of points and miles as a young adult. She is 24 now, and she has racked up enough points and miles to be able to contribute to our family trips and take trips of her own. So we thought it would be really helpful to walk through how she got started, for any of you who are a young adult or who have kids who are young adults and who you are looking to get started with points and miles. So Ella, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so before we get into Ella's story about how she got into points and miles, which I'm going to guess her introduction was Jess.
Oh, yeah.
But before we get into all that, a few caution items. First of all, if you're introducing a young adult in your life into the world of points and miles, make sure you teach them the responsibility that comes with using a credit card. Make sure that they are responsible enough, for starters, to pay off that credit card on time in full each month. I know I have, which I'll talk about in a bit, I have young adult nieces and nephews, and I know they use credit cards, and I'm always like, I hope they know what they're doing with this. I'm sure they do, but even my own kids, I started them very young in teaching them what a credit card is and how it works, and that you actually have to pay this money back. It's not free money. And so I think it's very important to teach at a young age, just teach them that it's basically a debit card, and hopefully they'll just grow up understanding that, oh, I have to pay this off each month in full or else I'm charged more money. So biggest thing is treating your credit card like a debit card, and make sure that those young adults in your life know that if they're paying interest, they're not earning nearly free travel. So pay it off in full each month, treat it like a debit card, don't pay interest, or you're not getting nearly free travel. So anyway, those are our starter items for this episode.
Okay, so now we are going to move on to Ella's journey to becoming a points and miles queen that she is at the age of 24. I will say she has her ducks in a row much more than I did at 24. The very first thing she did is she opened a checking account with Chase. I think it is always a good idea to have an account, like a banking relationship with whichever bank you are really going to be focusing on for your credit cards. For us, that is Chase. For all of us, it's Chase, especially because of the Chase 524 rule. We want to be in Chase's good graces. Ella, tell me more about when you opened your checking account, how old you were.
Yes. When I opened my actual high school checking account, I was 15. It was with Chase. It was free to open, super easy. But I actually had an account with Chase since I was 8. I had the kids Chase account. So I kind of just graduated into the high school account for an official checking account with a debit card and everything.
Yeah, and I actually looked that up on the Chase website, and they have the Chase First checking account you can get for children between the ages of 6 and 17. I actually have one of those from Molly also. I got it when she was 8, I think. Alex, do you have Chase First accounts for any of your kids?
I actually don't. We have accounts for our kids, but they're with our local credit union, which is where we do. I know they might not be off to as good a start as Molly. I'm already failing them.
Oh my gosh. No, but you have plenty of time. Well,
Yeah.
Noah's only 3 or 4, so he
He's
can't
3.
even have one yet anyways. But your
no.
other 3 could.
I know. We do. I do a lot of my banking with Chase, but I also do a lot of banking with our local credit union. And so the kids are on that one. They have their own accounts with the local credit union for now. For now, that's the key word.
Okay, so like Ella said, she has had a checking account with Chase for a very long time. This isn't going to really do anything as far as your credit score goes, but like I said, just establishing a relationship with that bank isn't going to hurt. It's just going to help. And so I think it's a good idea. Now we're going to get into the fun part of like when I started to indoctrinate Ella into the world of credit card points and miles. I have been in Ella's life a very long time, like 14
I
years, I
think
want
at
to
least,
say,
yeah.
something like that. I wanted to make sure that she was at an appropriate age to start these conversations. Like Alex said, knew like how much of a responsibility it was to have a credit card, to pay it off. I see a lot of recommendations for the Discover It card, which is purely a cashback card, no transfer partners, no welcome offers, anything like that. I have nothing negative to say about the Discover It card. I don't actually know a ton about it, but I knew that I wanted Ella to focus on getting Chase cards because the thing is, like, if you don't care about credit card points and miles, then maybe like the Discover It card makes sense because you just want cash back and you're not really worried about traveling on points and miles. But I was like, no, I need a player three. Like I need someone else to like start help contributing to these trips for our family of six. And so I knew that I wanted to start Ella off with some Chase cards to really like build her relationship with Chase.
Well, and Ella's become like one of your main travel companions as of late. So you're probably like, I've been paying for some of these flights. I'm running out of points. I need Ella to get some too.
Yeah, it just happened to work out that like at the time when this all started, I didn't know that she was going to get a job where she works remotely and can like travel wherever, whenever. And so Ella's sort of my like default person where I'm like, I want to go here. Do you want to come with me? And she's always like, sure, yeah, let's go. And so it has actually worked out great for a lot of reasons. So when she first started, I took a super conservative approach with her to this. And I was like, let's get you. So at the time, there was what's called the Chase Freedom Student Card. I don't think that card exists anymore. I think that they changed the name to the Chase Freedom Rise card. I'm assuming because that is a Chase card that will help you build your build your credit, and it's not necessarily, they don't want to necessarily limit it to students because there could be non-students who are just getting started with building their credit and want a card. This one does not have a welcome offer. There's no annual fee. It earns 1.5x on all purchases. So it's kind of like the Freedom Unlimited minus the welcome offer, but I assume easier to get approved for. And so at the time, so Ella, when did you open the Chase Freedom student card that is now the Chase Freedom Rise card?
I opened it in June of 2021. It was when I was in my second year of college, no, third year of college. And I was super nervous to open any credit card at first because, like we were talking about earlier, I was so scared of not paying it off, even though I'm super type A and like I knew I could pay it off. But, and also my high school had some Dave Ramsey fear mongering involved. But yeah, I opened that and I mostly just put like my utilities and my gas on it to start.
Yeah. And the nice thing about that card is that there's no minimum spend that you have to hit. And so even if someone who doesn't have a ton of expenses wants to start building their credit, it's a really good card because they're just going to get 1.5x on every purchase, no minimum spend or anything like that. Okay. So June 2021. So you would have been 20, you would have just turned 21 when you opened your first card. The second card was the Chase Freedom Unlimited. So then we moved into like the cards that do have a minimum spend and do have a welcome offer. And so Chase Freedom Unlimited, $500 minimum spend, I think, in 3 months. And so super doable even for someone even for a college student with not a lot of expenses. And then when did you open that one?
The unlimited I opened in November of 2021, and that one was nice because I didn't have a super high credit limit on the student, so I was really able to kind of put more on my credit cards at that point because I had two and I could put things other than just like utilities and gas. I could, when I went out to dinners with my friends, I could put it on my bill and have them Venmo me right after.
Heck yeah, you did. You knew all the
Oh
tricks
yeah.
with your friends. But yeah, so that's when she started actually earning points though,
Yes.
because with that one, you earn 20,000 ultimate rewards points once you spend the $500 in 3 months. And so, but I told her, I was like, do not cash these out. Do not buy AirPods with your points. Like, do not pass go, save them. Like, save them. Cause I said, eventually you're going to get cards where you can transfer those points out and, travel with them. And so for now, just rack up your points, save them. Don't buy gift cards with them. Don't do any of that stuff. Like, do
Yeah.
not do anything with your points. Just leave them in your account. And she's
You're
like,
like,
okay,
"Don't do
got it.
anything without talking to
Yeah.
me first."
Yeah. So she had the Freedom Unlimited. The other thing though is that so Olivia, her sister, my other stepdaughter, just got the Freedom Unlimited in January. And that was her very first card. Like we kind of skipped the Freedom Student / Freedom Rides with her because I felt a little bit more confident now that I had gone through it with Ella. I was like, let's see if we can get you approved for the Freedom Unlimited just straight off the bat. She also has a checking account with Chase. And so she has that relationship with them. And I was like, let's just see if we can skip that one and go straight to Freedom Unlimited. So she applied in January when she would have been 20. She turned 20 in January and she was auto approved for the Freedom Unlimited.
Was she an authorized user on any credit cards from anybody else, you know?
I am sure that I made both of them an authorized user on my cards at some point because when I first, Alex, you'll probably remember this a long time ago, back like before the 524 rule, when we first got started, there used to be all these incentives to add authorized users. Like you would
Oh,
get an
yeah.
extra 5,000 points for every authorized user that you added. And so I am positive at some point I added her and Olivia and Charlie and Molly and I think our cat as authorized users to my credit cards. So I'm sure that she was at some point. But yeah, so she just got straight away approved for the Freedom Unlimited. So that's an option if you already have like maybe a little bit of established credit or established relationship with the bank. We waited until May 2023 for Ella to apply for the Chase Sapphire Preferred. A lot of that had to do with the fact that she needed, it's with the Chase Sapphire Preferred, the minimum spend is like quite a bit higher than something like the Freedom Flex or the Freedom Unlimited. So she was going to need to spend $4,000 in 3 months. I offered to help her. I was like, if you need help with your spend, I can hit that spend very easily. But I really wanted to make sure that she had a good grasp of like using the card, paying off her bill on time and in full, setting up her auto pay, just like comfortable with the process of using a credit card before we dove into the Sapphire Preferred. And I also wanted to wait until there was a good increased welcome offer on that card for her. And so Ella, was it May 2023 when you opened the Sapphire Preferred, I think?
Yes, I opened it then, and I was really excited to open it because I was tired of booking things through the Chase portal, and I was so excited to be able to transfer out into partner sites. And so that was exciting. And I was also very nervous though, because again, like Jessica said, it was a much higher minimum spend, but I live at home with my biological mom and some of my siblings. So I was able to kind of buy groceries and then they would reimburse me. That was one way I was able to hit it as well.
So she had that Freedom Unlimited for a while. I always recommend when people are like, I'm brand new to this, how long should I wait? Like if I open a Freedom Unlimited or a Freedom Flex, how long should I wait before I open, before I try for like the Sapphire Preferred or one of the more like, I always recommend a year. I always say like use your fee-free card for a year, really like establish that relationship with Chase. And then after a year, you should be good to go. So it was more than a year before Ella applied for the Sapphire Preferred. And then she kind of hit the ground running. She has since been approved for an Ink Cash. And she recently got approved for the Southwest Personal Plus card because they had that companion pass promo where like if you hit the minimum spend, you got 30,000 points and you got a companion pass good through February 2025. And we are going to Hawaii in February. No, in December. We're going to Hawaii. And so I was like, hey, you should get this card because then you'll earn a companion pass. And that alone, like we're going at the holidays, and you know how ridiculously expensive the Southwest flights are during the holidays. And so I was like, if you can get one of your siblings to Hawaii for free, basically, other than the $11.20 in taxes, and like that's really going to come in handy for our plans. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, Ella, but I think you've always been automatically approved for your cards. Like, have you ever even had one go into pending?
I think the student went into pending, but after that, I was just automatically approved.
So I mentioned you got the Chase Ink card, which is a business card. So what do you, as a 20, I think you were what, 23 when you got approved for it. So what did you use as your business when you applied for that card?
I used Facebook Marketplace. I'm a big Facebook Marketplace person, Poshmark, reselling sites like that.
Good old
Oh
Facebook
yeah.
Marketplace.
You can't
Never
go
lets us
wrong.
it never
Can't go
lets us
wrong.
down. And Ella is a Travel Freely app user. I got her into that because I'm like, we got to track like when you open your cards, your 524 status, all that. And so she has the Travel Freely app. She puts her cards in there. But yeah, so like I said, she has gotten 5 cards since she got started in 2021, and she's paced them. She's like spaced them really well. And so I think she's only 224 currently, if I'm doing the math
Yeah.
correctly. So, her Chase 524 status is looking great. She can get more cards. We have not ventured into other people, like other banks. We've mainly just stuck to Chase for now.
What card do you have your eye on next?
Oh, that's a good
Or is it
question.
just whatever
It's
Jess tells you
usually
to
just
get?
whatever Jessica tells me. Usually, like I know with the ink, we were in Amsterdam and I so vividly remember her being like, "Oh, this has a great offer. You should apply." I was like, "Okay," because it's really hard to say no to applying to a card when you're on a trip that was paid for with points. So I usually just do whatever Jess tells me to.
That's a good plan.
Yeah.
I'm talking like,
You're
it's
my
usually when we're
yeah.
together that I'm like, oh my gosh, you should get this card. I'm like her hype girl. I think maybe another ink is in the
Mhm.
cards for her next one since it's been a while. It's been like over a year since she got an ink card. So I'm thinking another ink card, either the Ink Unlimited or the Ink Preferred, will be her next card. And then after that, I don't know, maybe we can dabble in like some Capital One. I don't know. We
I
will
need
we will
I need
see.
whatever's gonna get me Harry Styles.
When Jess got your dad into this, well, when Jess got into this, your dad thought they were going to go to jail. So when Jess started talking to you about doing this, were you at all hesitant or were you like, oh no, like I've seen what Jess is doing, like I'm good to go?
I feel like because I was so young when we started doing it, I was really able to see like, oh, you can really do so much with this. There's nothing to worry about. That I was like, yeah, I'm ready to do it. Other than like the little bits of personal fears with like, I don't know if I can really pay it off, but I can. So it was mostly I was ready to go.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, Alex, do you want to tell I know that your nephew was sort of in like a similar spot as Ella. So do you want to tell us about like what his journey kind of looked like?
Yeah. So we were on a big family trip in Florida pretty recently. And he was telling me that he had the Sapphire Preferred. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And so I was kind of asking him some questions. And then when we decided to do this episode, I was like, okay, I'm going to text him and find out some more. So, first of all, not everybody has a Jess that can craft them the perfect plan that gets them the Chase, like Molly already has her Chase checking account. Not everybody has a Jess in their life. And so my takeaway was like, wow, I'm going to send this episode to my other nieces and nephews that are prepping for this and just let them know they can text me anytime because maybe I should be more involved or help them. But I kind of figure like their moms have got this figured out. Like their moms, they do a little of the points and miles stuff. So I figure they've got it under control.
But
But
maybe if you were the one to help them, then you could get the referral points.
I like where you're going with that. That's a great idea. So, anyway, my nephew graduated high school in 2020. And right before he graduated high school, he got the Discover It student card that Jess had mentioned before. I don't know what it is about this card, It is. It's one we hear about all the time. They must have some really good marketing, or there's just
Yeah.
not a ton of student cards out there to choose from, because I really feel like it's kind of a go-to card. So he got that one, and I think it's a fine card to start with if you're just wanting to learn the ins and outs of holding a credit card and being responsible. But like Jess said, if you're, now that I know, I will probably have my kids get this Freedom Rise card, because just getting their foot in the door with Chase. But as you'll see, like, this all worked out fine for him. So his next card was when he was 20, well, it was in 2021. So a year later, he was 19 and he got the Apple card. I didn't really ask him why, but I don't know. I think kids think it's cool. That's all I can think is they think it's cool to have an Apple card. I don't really
Maybe he
know.
got like a discount on his
A new
laptop or
iPhone or
something.
something, yeah. So, and then 2 years later, he got this Sapphire Preferred in 2023. When he was 21, and so he actually got it in May 2023 as well, just like Ella, which is a great time to get it because that was when they had that limited time offer. So, I think just showing his path a little bit, because he was like, you don't have to have like, this is the one way to be able to get a Chase Sapphire Preferred. And I do agree with Jess that I think you just need to have like a year of having established credit and treating your credit well, and then you can go for the Sapphire Preferred. But I definitely think you need a year with a more beginner card before you jump onto that card. And so I think for him that worked out really well to have a couple cards, learn the ins and outs, because the other thing too is the Sapphire Preferred has a really high interest rate. And so if you got a not teenage, young adult who has a card like that, you definitely want to have them understanding how that works. And so I think it's actually really great that these banks don't just say, sure, you can get these cards right out of the gate, because
Yeah.
it would probably be pretty detrimental to some of these people who are just getting their first credit card. And now I also asked him, he had never been an authorized user on a credit card, and he didn't have a bank account with Chase. So he just started with a card and then kind of proved that he had the history and had good credit. So he was able to get it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just going to go into a few considerations when you are thinking about, if you're a young adult, if you're thinking about getting a young adult in your life started with credit card points and miles. So one of the big motivators for me was getting more referral points. And so I knew that I could refer Ella to these cards and I would earn referral points when she signed up. Another thing I did for her, most of the cards she has don't have an annual fee, but like the Chase Sapphire Preferred has a $95 annual fee. The Southwest Plus, I think, has a $69 annual fee. I told her, I was like, I'm going to refer you. I'm going to get these referral points and I will pay your like first year annual fee for you, because I kind of feel like, when someone's like 21, 22, they don't have a ton of disposable income to be paying all these annual fees. And so I was like, look, I'll get the referral points. I'll pay your annual fee. We'll call it even. And so that is something that I've done for her. Like I said, I've also offered to help her with her minimum spend. I'm like, hey, if you don't think you're going to hit it, let me know. I can charge some of my expenses to it. And then give you the money to pay your credit card bill. And so that is something you can also offer to do to potentially help the young adult in your life feel more comfortable getting started with points and miles. And then the ability to transfer points and miles, we've had to be a little bit creative with this because Ella and I do not have the same household address. And so like with Chase, you can transfer points freely back and forth with members of your household. Ella is not a member of my household. And so we've had to get creative with how she redeems her points for our trips. One thing that she does a lot is with Hyatt, you can transfer to any Hyatt member via the Hyatt points combining form. If you just Google Hyatt points combining form, it should be the first result. And so she will transfer her points from Chase to her Hyatt account, and then she will transfer those over to my Hyatt account via the points combining form. So that is one I feel like we probably use the most out of any of the strategies to share points with someone outside your household. Things we've done recently, though, United just introduced United pooling, which has been really helpful. So I'm in Houston, which is a United hub, and Ella is in Chicago, which is also a United hub. And so we find ourselves flying United a lot. And so being able to have a United pool where we can both contribute miles to that and then I can redeem them for trips together has been really helpful. Ella and I are going to Bora Bora in May, and we are flying Air France to get there. And so a lot of airlines like Air France, I discovered, have family accounts that you can create where you can add members of your family to a household account or a family account. And then you can both, everyone in your family can contribute to that one main account. So that's what we did for our flights to Bora Bora. I transferred points from American Express to my Flying Blue account. Ella transferred points from Chase to her Flying Blue account. And then they kind of all went together into our Air France family account. And I was able to book both of us on the same reservation. And so just things like that, to get creative with, combining points or transferring points to be able to book trips together is really helpful.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about helping your young kids build credit because you aren't going to get a credit card if you don't have any credit history. So the minimum age to get a credit card is 18, and a suggested credit score for a card like the Sapphire Preferred and some of these really nice travel rewards cards is you're looking at a 700 plus. So what we recommend doing to help your kids build their credit score is to add them as an authorized user on one of your cards. Now, one very, very, very important thing to keep in mind is you don't want to add your kid as an authorized user to your credits or to your credit card if you have a bad credit score, because then you're just giving your kid a bad credit score. So make sure that you have a good credit score if you're going to be adding your kid as an authorized user. So some credit card companies do have minimum ages. So for Amex, you have to be 13 or older to be an authorized user on a credit card. But with Capital One and with Chase, there's no minimum age. So you can add one of your kids anytime, whatever age they are. You're also responsible for the purchases that are made on the card. So when you log into your account, you'll see their purchases under that card's account and like under your card account. And I always tell my kids, like, I know what you're spending. So like I can see it. And so what you spend comes out of your allowance. So I have my 12-year-old and my 10-year-old are each authorized users on my Freedom Unlimited. And I just picked that one because it earns 1.5 on everything. It helps them kind of have a little bit of a relationship with Chase. And then I can earn ultimate rewards on their spending, which is hardly anything because I've just started giving it to my 12-year-old when he's going places with his friends because he's kind of at that age where he's going and doing fun things with them. And I like never have cash because I never use cash. I'm always using a credit card. So for me, it's been really great to be like, okay, here's your credit card. He puts it in he has this little like Threads wallet. And I think that he thinks it's pretty cool that there's a credit card with his name on it. But I tell him, like I said, like I can see what you're spending. And so I will look it up and what you spend, I take out of your allowance. And so I think it's teaching him good habits at a young age that, oh, what I spend on my credit card, I actually have to pay for it. So I'm hoping, and that's the case at least, that he's going to be learning some good habits. And then like I said, I got one for my 10-year-old as well. I haven't given it to him because he's not going as many places without me. And then the one time he was with his brother and I was like, Eli, you just use yours for Cruise too, and I will take Cruise's money out of his allowance. So I think it's been really great. I know people love, what is it called? It's like hope I don't butcher it, but maybe green light. I think that's what it is. I don't know. Someone that's listening is going to be like shouting it through their car or wherever they're listening. I think it's called green light. Don't quote me on that, but it's basically a debit card that you can access for your kid and you can be like, here's the amount of money that they can have on it. You can easily move money back and forth, but you have to pay a fee, like a monthly fee to have it, which I think like the premise, the idea of it is really good. And I think kids can learn good habits, but I'm like, I don't want to pay a monthly debit card fee. I'm just going to make them an authorized user on my credit card and teach them how to use a credit card. And so I've had some friends like, oh, you should do this. It's so great. I'm like, not going to pay whatever it is a month for them to do this. I'm just giving them my credit card. I'm not going to earn points on their debit card. I don't care if it's $20 that they spent. I want my 1.5 points on all the dollars they spend.
I have not given Molly a card yet. I'm a little bit nervous about that. Ella, what do you think? Is Molly responsible enough to have her own authorized user card that she actually uses?
I think probably not yet. I think that there would be a lot of Roblox charges on the card. She would just spend it on her iPad rather than when she's out and about.
Yeah, she would be buying Robux all the time. So we cannot. I mean, she actually is like she's pretty like frugal when it comes
To
to
her money, not yours.
yeah, when it comes to her money. And so I don't know. I feel like it could go either way. Another thing I wanted to just mention about the adding as authorized users, you do want to keep in mind, obviously for our kids, it's not an issue, but like for, if someone's like 2021 and you're adding them as an authorized user, that is going to count towards their 524 status. And so that is something like I currently do not add Ella as an authorized user on anything. I haven't added her as an authorized user in many years. And so just because she's actively opening cards regularly, like I said, for our young kids, it's not an issue because in 2 years, once those cards fall off, they're not even going to be eligible to open a credit card yet anyways. And so it's not a huge deal, but just something to keep in mind. And then Alex, this isn't on our outline, but I was kind of thinking as long as we have Ella here, we could just ask her about her favorite trips that she's taken on points and miles, because I'm sure the people want to know.
Yeah, that's a good question because she's done some amazing ones.
Yeah, especially in the last couple years, we've kind of gone hard and we have even more planned for this year and next year. But what have been like some of your favorites?
This is such a hard question. The first two that come to mind are Japan and Australia. Both of those were so incredible and like everything about them was great. And yeah, those two were great. Also, we always love going to Scotland. So I think every time we've gone to Scotland, it's been on points and miles. And that's always one of my favorite places to go.
I kind of thought you were going to say Japan and Australia. We're actually going back. Like I am obsessed with Japan, and we are actually going back to Japan in March of 2025. It's me and Ella, and then we're taking Ted and Molly this time. So the 4 of us are going to Japan, and I am on points and miles, of course. And so I am looking forward to going back there.
Well, we hope these tips have been helpful for all of you out there wanting to build your credit or wanting to help your kids get started. The more players you have, the easier it'll be to rack up points and miles to turn those dream trips into reality. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and share the episode with a friend, or even better, share it with those young adults in your life ready to get into the points and miles game. Thank you so much for your support.
Thanks so much for listening to Points Talk with the Travel Mom Squad. Make sure to hit the subscribe or follow button from wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. Want to start jet setting even faster? Follow the links in the show notes to learn about everything we discussed in today's episode. And to stay connected and follow along, follow us on Instagram at Travel Mom Squad. We can't wait to see where in the world points and miles take you.